Sometimes the most seemingly mundane things can have the biggest, most unexpected impacts. In 2010, the airspace above Europe became a ghost town for 6 full days. The volcano buried beneath the ice sheet was largely ignored by most global scientists. Its name, Eyjafjallajökull, translates to something like Island Mountain Glacier, masking its explosive potential. Seismic activity quietly began rampaging beneath the surface as early as December 2009, but that was not the worst part. This unprecedented shutdown was not due to a strike or a computer glitch. Instead, it was caused by an unexpected eruption from a volcano in Iceland called Eyjafjallajökull. The troposphere was injected with massive quantities of silicate dust and microscopic glass shards. Unlike smoke, this material behaves like liquid sandpaper when heated by jet turbine blades. Pilots reported seeing St. Elmo's fire dancing across their cockpit windscreens during flight, except that number was a lie. The ash cloud it produced trapped millions of travelers and cost airlines billions. The eruption began on March 20, 2010, with little initial impact. Lava flows were confined to the Fimmvörðuháls Pass, posing minimal threats to international flight paths. The Icelandic Meteorological Office monitored the situation, keeping a firm watch on seismic tremors. Scientists noted the pressure change beneath the glacier was becoming exponentially more unstable with each passing day. But a second, larger eruption on April 14th changed everything. This time, the magma hit ice, creating a fine, abrasive ash. The interaction between water and magma created a phreatomagmatic explosive event of massive scale. Within hours, an ash plume reached an altitude of 30,000 feet into the stratosphere. Global meteorologists had to scramble to calibrate their atmospheric dispersion models in real time. Strong easterly winds then carried this ash directly towards mainland Europe. Volcanic ash is incredibly dangerous for aircraft engines. These particles are essentially shards of volcanic glass, sharp enough to scour away protective coatings. Once ingested, the heat within the combustion chamber melts these shards into glassy, solidified clumps. These deposits obstruct delicate cooling air channels. The engines lose thrust entirely, dangerously so. It contains tiny glass and rock fragments that can melt at engine temperatures. This molten material then coats turbine blades, causing them to stall. During the 1982 flight of British Airways Flight 9, 4 engines failed over Indonesia. The crew managed to restart them just before crashing, but it remains a stark warning. The 2010 event was clearly not a risk any aviation regulator would accept, safely. A full engine failure mid-flight is every pilot's worst nightmare. European air traffic control bodies had no choice but to ground all flights. The decision-making process involved meteorologists and volcanic ash advisory centers across the entire continent. At the height of the crisis, almost 30,000 flights were scrubbed in 1 week alone. Chaos erupted as airlines tried to rebook millions of trapped, confused, and angry travelers. Economists would later call the impact a significant global supply chain disruption. Over 100,000 flights were canceled, impacting an estimated 10 million passengers. The economic cost to the airline industry was staggering, estimated at $1.7 billion. Major carriers like British Airways, Lufthansa, and Air France faced near-zero revenue for weeks. Cargo traffic also suffered severely, affecting time-critical medical supplies and perishable fresh grocery goods. Kenya's flour industry alone lost an estimated $3 million per day, heartbreakingly. But the human stories were just as significant, from missed weddings to canceled medical treatments. Thousands of soldiers were stranded, unable to return from diplomatic missions or assignments abroad. Families stayed in departure lounges indefinitely, relying on airline hospitality or simply airport floors. Even global leaders faced extreme difficulty in coordinating international aid efforts during this lockdown. The logistics, it turns out, were fundamentally broken by the ash blanket, shockingly. The ash cloud also highlighted a critical weakness in Europe's air traffic management. Each country had its own rules, making a unified response difficult to coordinate. The ICAO lacked the legislative teeth to mandate a single, binding European policy. National aviation authorities often disagreed on the threshold of safe concentration of airborne ash. This fragmentation ensured no coherent strategy took hold until days after the peak, regretfully. The event forced aviation authorities to rethink their approach to volcanic ash hazards. New models and protocols were developed to better predict ash cloud movement and concentration. They implemented modern sensor technology, including LiDAR and satellite imagery, for precise monitoring. Engines were redesigned to be significantly more resilient to harsh, high-temperature environmental contaminants. Airspace management became a centralized, harmonized task managed by regional command centers, fortunately. Today, aviation bodies like Eurocontrol can issue specific ash concentration warnings. Thresholds are determined using scientific data on exactly which particle densities engines can endure. This shift moved aviation completely away from the zero-tolerance stance of that 2010 year. Authorities now balance safety with economic reality, making evidence-based closures rather than wholesale panics. It's a massive improvement for global passenger reliability. Really. This allows for more flexible airspace closures, avoiding widespread shutdowns. The Eyjafjallajökull eruption taught us valuable lessons about nature's power and interconnectedness. So, even a remote Icelandic volcano can turn the skies over an entire continent into